Who we can afford to lose is Jason, so we'll ask Jason to come up in the meantime. Boris, sorry for that. Perhaps we could have sneaked in, but there are lots of detailed questions which you'll see on the platform. Now, you've only got 12 minutes left.
12 now? Okay.
Aren't you a bloody Aussie? So, I mean, 10 minutes if you say anything more cheeky, eh?
Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon if you're back in Australia. I'm Jason Brewer, the CEO of Marula Mining, a junior company headquartered in Nairobi and very much focused on the battery metal space here in Africa. Is Africa ready to electrify the world? And how, as a junior company, can we be part of that, drive it, and so on? Bernard?
It's not me, eh?
Okay.
Yeah, patience.
Thank you. Yesterday, I think there was a fair bit of discussion on battery metals and the demand, the supply, the pricing mechanisms, and so on. In the world that we now live in, and the world that we're probably going to be living in for the next, well, certainly for our lifetimes here, let's be realistic. Tremendous growth, tremendous demand for the commodities which we have here in Africa, and which for a large part have really not been developed. Political reasons, investment reasons, and so on. But there is a clear demand for these commodities. And through Marula Mining, we want to be able to tap into these. We want to tap into these by redeveloping, recommissioning, and starting up brownfield operations throughout Africa. A big focus here in South Africa, where we actually have an operating mine at the moment, which we got up and going basically within 3 to 6 months, and which we've made significant investment in over the past, well, certainly this year. But we're also very much focused up in East Africa, where we have a series of other projects, which again are focused on that on graphite, on copper, and lithium as well. We talked about this again yesterday. So many opportunities. Okay, the reality is when we start exploring for these commodities, we find them. You know, there has not been that broad exploration for many of these commodities here. Particularly throughout East Africa and even here in South Africa. You know, you've got, I think, Bernard, there's some 6,000 closed mines here in South Africa, many of which in today's environment could get restarted, could produce significant earnings, job employment opportunities to the country here. If South Africa's mining sector was back in Australia, most of your mines here would have been reworked half a dozen times by the Australian junior mining sector. That's a fact. You see this every day in Australia. Why isn't it happening here? Not just in South Africa, but elsewhere. Look, I'm a big proponent of Africa. I've spent the past 25 years working here in South Africa, Zambia, Kenya, Tanzania, and there is tremendous opportunities. And I think now, more than any, is a tremendous opportunity to take advantage of the environment we find ourselves in. We're looking at some of the other major mining sectors, countries in the world, South America in particular, where the political risk associated with many of their operations is now bringing people here. You know, you've just seen DRC is going to move up the rankings in terms of being one of the major, I think the second largest now, copper producer in the world, overtaking Peru. A lot of the mines, the nationalization which has taken place throughout South America, the push by governments there, creates the platform for us here now in Africa to start developing some of these projects. We've seen it in Zimbabwe, some massive investment there in the lithium sector, and George is going to be talking about this after me here. You know, this is an opportunity where we can now push forward very quickly. Marula Mining, how can we do it? How have we done it? We've got one mine in production in the past 6 months. We've got another one which we're going to be producing our first high-grade copper concentrate out by September of this year. And hopefully by the end of this year as well, we'll be producing graphite out of Tanzania. You know, a very aggressive, dynamic junior mining company. And that's what junior mining companies are about. It's about being agile, taking advantage of market opportunities, seizing the initiative, and moving quicker than some of the dinosaurs which we've seen dominate Africa's mining sector for many years. I think, Patricia, you're going to like this slide. Marula Mining, it's been listed. It was a shell company 12 months ago. The share price, the market capitalization has gone up 15 times in the past 6 months. It's at the moment, it's roughly about 300 million rand. I'll quote in rand because that's probably going to increase tomorrow by another 20-25%. Okay? We're in the process of moving on to the AIM. Part of our migration onto the AIM exchange, we've got all our consultants are based here out of South Africa. MSA are doing our competent persons report. They've been to Tanzania, they've been to our operation here in South Africa, and they're heading up to Zambia, I think on the 17th of this month. Our legal work is done by ENS. Thanks for the sponsorship here, guys. They're completing all that work. So we're very much looking at building our presence here. In conjunction with the AIM listing, we are going to be an additional listing here on the JSE. We're in the process of appointing our advisors, and Copper 360, you've done a fantastic job, and we'll see how we progress. But we're very much focused on making sure we are an African-focused company. Whilst listed in London, to be honest, guys, it's a post box for us. Our whole operating administrative team is based out of Nairobi. We have an office in Kimberley. We have an office up in Dar es Salaam. And we have literally just there in Sandton, we have our major shareholder and our funding partner in place, which is critical for us. And one of the big reasons about being here and coming here on the JSE is we did a transaction earlier this year with Quinton van der Berg, who probably best known obviously from the coal mining sector. He's diversifying into the metals, the hard rock, and certainly into battery metals. He's coming on. Q Global Commodities are going to be taking a 51% interest in us. Quinton is going to be taking his first seat, I believe, on a listed company. And they're investing, I'm trying to work out the numbers here in rand terms. A lot. Basically, he funds us through all our projects, both the project here in South Africa, the 3 projects in Tanzania, and the ones we're going to be announcing duly in Zimbabwe and Kenya. So Patricia will be working very closely with your team to make sure we add to those 11 junior mining companies that you supposedly have on the exchange.
12, you're going to be number
12.
13. Sorry.
13. That's a bit unlucky for some. We'll see. Okay? We've talked about a bit of this. London listed. We're operating in our backyard. We're not another Perth-based, Sydney-based, Vancouver-based, and no disrespect to anybody in the audience here. We're working in our backyard, which means we have to work in a very different way. Okay? We're working with communities that, again, we live with, and that brings on additional responsibilities. In the space of 6 months, we've grown our workforce from 3 to just over 100 people here in the Northern Cape and up in Tanzania. So we're moving very quickly. And certainly by the end of the year, we're probably going to be about 250 to 300. Okay, so we've got a lot of responsibilities there, particularly as we look to grow our business. Okay, just to give you some specifics on what we're doing, guys. In the Northern Cape here, the Blesberg lithium mine, a lot of tantalum associated with that. A former operation, operated intermittently for over 80 years. We've gone in there, there's about 250,000 to 400,000 tons of waste stockpile. This was a small operation which was mined primarily for its tantalite. Within that pegmatite, very high grade spodumene, lithium. We've done multiple bulk samples there. It's running between 5 to 8% Li2O. Typically what you export as a spodumene concentrate. So we started reprocessing those dumps in November. We secured a prepayment through a Swiss-based trading group for $5 million, rand terms, a lot. That allowed us to completely buy out all the minority shareholders and fund the initial development there. Just last month, we took delivery of 6 brand new bits of mobile mining equipment, courtesy of Q Global Commodities, courtesy of Bell. That is up there now. That has allowed us in the space of a month to double production, double the movement of volumes from that mine. We've now, and we are delivering that spodumene concentrate through to our off-taker now. First deliveries are actually taking place this week.
Jason, are you getting a recognition for your tantalum, or would that be later as a own process step?
That's later. A lot of that is associated in the fines, in those stockpiles. So we're doing the test work on that now.
So your current offtake doesn't include
Doesn't
that.
include that there. And there's some very, very good tantalite associated with that. What we announced just 3 weeks ago, we've had a pilot plant facility here in Joburg, taking that spodumene and producing a lithium carbonate. Something we're very focused on, adding value. Not following my peers back in Australia in just producing a raw product. You know, actually adding value, producing an intermediate product such as lithium carbonate. We've produced lithium carbonate through the pilot plant facility here. It's being tested now. That process is being independently verified with a view that we will be looking to produce 1,000 tonne a year initially of lithium carbonate. And that lithium carbonate is going for what, $40,000 a tonne, roughly at the moment. So that's for a company of our size producing in a revenue base of about 40 million just purely on that is going to be something very significant for us.
Can I ask, because I think the smaller we are, the more junior we are, the more we are dependent on an ecosystem, existing infrastructure, old workings. When you say you had it tested in Joburg, is that an established facility like a Mintech? Or, I mean, because it must help to be able to deliver to somebody who already exists.
Yeah, no, we're doing it through, we've got a processing partner here called Southern Metals Processing. It's a guy called Gary Marks who's been doing a lot of work associated with that. Part of our next phase, as I've said, is to getting that independently verified.
Yeah. But so there is an ecosystem of people who can assist you doing this without you having to have the capital to do it yourself.
Absolutely, and that's one of the benefits of operating in something like South Africa. I've said so many things about South Africa. I'm a big proponent of it. You've got a first world mining infrastructure here. You've got services which, you know, many in Canada, many in Australia just do not have. You know, you've got an experienced labour force. You've got everything which can make mines happen. Okay? So look, Blesberg, that's going to be pushing ahead very quickly. Lithium exports, lithium sales taking place now, and lithium carbonate production to commence in September of this year. We've got our Kanusi copper mine, which is up in Tanzania. Tanzania, everybody here knows because of the gold predominantly. Kanusi copper at surface, it's been mined by artisanals for about the past 10 years. The low-grade material, less than 10%, they're throwing away. The high-grade material runs between 30 and 50%. That's one of the samples we've taken from there. A fantastic opportunity. MSA were up there a couple of weeks back. Very excited about what we've done. We've got small-scale mining taking place now and a processing plant being designed and being built here in South Africa is going to be delivered up there in August to allow us to put first concentrates into the market in September. Again, a very fast-tracked development there. Finally, one of our graphite projects in Tanzania, Nyori.
Go, come again? That sounds very Australian. Nyori. I can't even pronounce it, man.
Yeah, no, have a drink.
You did well.
It'll come through quite good. Look, we've had MSA up there as well. They've looked at this, very excited, want to get involved in a bigger way. Almost 100, I can't say 100% total graphite content, but it is. Jumbo flakes, the size of your thumb. Our neighbours, a local Tanzanian company, just did their first export of a DSO product, no processing, straight out of the ground. They received $1,800 a tonne for that product. No process. You can imagine the cost profile up there.
Can I quickly put you the two questions I got from the audience around Blesberg, as we would say, or Blesberg?
Yep. Yes, sorry for my pronunciation.
No, it's cool. So the longer-term potential beyond the dumps, have you got a drilling program planned?
Yeah, they're meeting now.
So you are going to drill for...
We've got the drill pads preparation underway.
And then the second question was about what are the environmental issues of processing lithium in Gauteng? I think we're all like, huh, you did it in Gauteng. Did you bump into any environmental issues at all?
No, we haven't run into any problems whatsoever.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So, no, it's been very, very positive there. We've got samples from the Nyori going through SGS at the moment. That's a very high-grade product, and like I say, almost a DSO product, which our neighbours are already exporting out through Dar es Salaam. 3 projects, all with scale and potential. Kanusi, we've got 10 granted mining licenses there. Allows us to move forward very quickly. On one of the licenses alone, you've got 750 metres of strike and something like 30 small-scale pits being mined. It's a tremendous project, and one which, with drilling, which is to commence in July, we'll be able to prove up a very significant copper project there, I believe. I think that's pretty much it, Bernard. I don't think I've got much else to say. It's a great story. Follow us, it's particularly when we list here on the JSE, because I think you'll see a company that's going to move forward very, very quickly. You know, we are dynamic. We've almost taken that Aussie junior model, brought it over here to Nairobi, which in itself is quite an interesting place to have an operating office, but great to get around. Unfortunately, when SAA collapsed, there was no other place better to be than in Nairobi to move around. Great team we've got up there, and we're very busy building our business.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, two profound statements. The Aussie model brought to African opportunities. Another statement Jason made was, like, if the South African neglected, abandoned mines were in Australia, a fair number of them would have been reworked. And I think, again, that's a fantastic challenge for us, an opportunity. Just quickly remind us, I was looking for it because I do follow you on Twitter, so I know exactly of every piece of rock you ever pick up. I last year told everybody to follow you on Twitter, and I know,
please do.
I know 3 more people joined, so my whole following joined you.
Okay.
What is your Twitter handle?
Faith, where are you? J. Brewer, Africa Mining, I think it is.
J. Brewer. Okay.
Yeah.
J. Brewer. I looked under Jason's, but it's clearly a very common name.
That's my sport. I've got a separate one which follows all the sport. So
no.
You'll excuse me for that.
We don't follow Aussies when it comes to sport. We beat them. I mean, we play against them.
I've got an English passport, so passport of convenience. Come on.
Okay. So thank you for those questions. So if you list on the JSE, I can convinced my 17-year-old son to put his pocket money in it. But for what? For graphite? For lithium? For, we like the story, what would be the key ingredient?
Look, unashamedly, we're not a single project company. My own experience in the past is if you have your eggs in one basket or in one jurisdiction, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. We've purposely built a portfolio of projects in proven mining districts. Let's be fair there, and where we can actually develop them. So what you're investing in is a junior company that's able to take a project into production within 6 to 12 months. That's able to secure funding that's non-dilutive. Okay, we're fully funded going forward. When we come to the JSE, again, sorry, Patricia, we're not raising capital. We've got the big balance sheet of Q Global Commodities behind us that are assisting us through their relationships with commodity groups in the UK, in Switzerland, through their relationships with Bell and so on, to bring in capital, equipment, to allow us to develop these projects. So you're supporting a company that isn't going to be sitting there earning big salaries, sitting in air-conditioned offices in Sydney, Perth, Vancouver, London. We're actually out there on the ground getting things done. We picked up Canusi in February. We're going to be producing from there, sales of first exports in September. You know, that's what you're backing, a team that can actually deliver.
I must say, what I think about differently than even 2 days ago, starting with yesterday's presentation, is this: start smaller, quick cash flow, get to cash flow. I mean, your model is perfect for that. You will drill, but you're already picking through the waste dumps to make revenue.
Yeah. It's proof of concept. Show the market, show the investors you can operate in these jurisdictions, because people still have question marks. The biggest challenge I faced in London was convincing people to back us in South Africa. I'm scratching my head with that. I really am. They're quite happy to go and put money into the Congo, you know, into godforsaken places in South America. You've got to look at what we've got, play to the strengths, and you've got that opportunity here for sure.
Yeah, as Aussies go, not too bad a sample of them. Jason, welcome back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, John.
Thank you.